Hello and welcome to this video and to the dog food that's behind my shoulder because there's nowhere to put things in this flat. Today's video is a little bit different. I mean, it's still a vlog and it's still what I'm getting up to, but I'm actually off for my first ever blood donation. I'm gonna go and give some blood today, which, to be fair, I'm a little bit apprehensive about. I've never done it before and they seem to take quite a lot. I think it's just under a pint or about a pint of blood that they'll take from me, assuming I pass all of the bits and bobs. So I'm doing that. I booked it a little while ago. It was a little unfortunate because Pete's actually in London at a friend's birthday, but because I'd booked this and there's not a lot of chance of me moving it to another date, I meant I couldn't go with him for that matter. So there is a dedicated blood donation centre in the middle of Sheffield, which, as I've said so many times, city centre living means it's a very short walk, and that's the bit that put me off in London. I've looked at doing this a number of times, but when we lived in London, our nearest place to donate blood was quite a long way away. I don't know how I'm going to feel after they take a load of blood from me, so I didn't then want to have to walk like 1.5 miles, 2 miles home after it. I might have been fine. That might have not been a reason to not do it, but it's the reason why I didn't do it. I'd forgotten about it, to be honest. I was on Twitter a good month or so ago, and I saw this graphic about the different types of blood, because, you know, O positive, O negative, all of that kind of stuff, and who can have which type of blood, which reminded me that I was like, oh yeah, that's something that I've said I should do. Believe I'm a relatively fit and healthy young person, or younger, I don't feel very young at the moment. You're currently len on a laptop stand because I'm getting a sore neck, so I'm not that young, but I'm within the age range that I can give blood, and I fit all the criteria that they say when you book in, or when you set yourself up with an account and things. So it's something that I've thought about a lot but then forgot about, and saw that on Twitter, so thought, oh, I wonder where the nearest one is in Sheffield, because, as I say, things are very close, so I assumed there'd be one in the city centre. I was right, it's about 5 minutes away. It's a Sunday. The centre isn't open on a Saturday. The only day at the weekend that they're open is a Sunday, which is why I'm booked in for this, and obviously Sunday appointments get booked up quite quickly, so when I actually booked it, I did it quite a while ago, and this was the first available Sunday. Which is then convenient because this week in the news, there's been a lot of talk about how there's a blood shortage and they're really encouraging people to come forward to donate blood and all of this kind of stuff. So it's all come together and I feel a little bit smug, let's just say it that way, but also that it is the right thing to be doing at this time. Obviously I'm never going to tell someone else to go and do it, it's certainly a free choice. I'm not a huge fan of needles, but I'm fine as long as I don't look at it, and the same with blood. It's fine, I just probably won't look at it. We'll see. So yeah, this morning hasn't quite gone to plan. I'm slightly delayed in what I was supposed to be doing, but it's fine, we've got time. We need to walk the dog and have some lunch, so one of the things that was said when I booked the appointment was to make sure that you eat properly. So I did have some breakfast. I don't normally have breakfast on the weekend, and I need to have lunch before I go. They also said not to do rigorous exercise on the day of your blood donation, and normally I would run my 5k on a Sunday, so I did that yesterday on Saturday instead. So I've all planned it out. I've just now got to do the last little bits before I leave and then see what happens. I'm assuming that I'll be fine to actually donate the blood, but I think they've got to do like a finger prick test and stuff to make sure, I guess, like my iron levels are fine and maybe some other bits. So I could be going and they don't actually want my blood because it's not good enough for them, but we'll see. I have to fill in this rather large questionnaire before I leave, so I'm going to do that now so I don't forget, and then we're going to take Jeff for a walk and have some lunch. So I'll come back to you when I'm on my way to the blood donation centre. I've made it to the blood donation centre. So there we go, I've donated my blood. And I don't know if I look paler than usual, but unsurprisingly I went lightheaded. But when I'm back in the flat, Mum's sat down and it's quieter, I'll talk more to you about it. Right, I'm back, as you can tell, because Jeff's with me. I thought it would be helpful to give you like a full rundown of the process of donating blood, because when I had a look, there wasn't a huge amount. There was a lot of people saying give blood, it's fine, it's not a problem, but no one really spoke too much about the process. I booked my appointment a good month and a half ago. That's just purely because there's a dedicated blood donation centre in Sheffield that only opens on a Sunday, and I wasn't going to go on a work day. Obviously I turn up, they'd posted that form that I showed earlier previously, so I filled that out this morning. There was about three questions that I answered yes to. We'll get to that bit in a minute. So I came in, done my form, so they gave me a booklet to read to tell me what the possible side effects and things are of giving blood. They also gave me a packet of crisps because it was my first donation, and they advised eating salty food beforehand, which surprised me because I thought it would have been sweet. But apparently, because I asked, because I was intrigued, salty food helps your blood circulation. I think that's what she said anyway, I'm not doubting that. But yeah, so they then called me into a smaller room where they were playing Radio 2, and it was Elaine Page's musical show, so I liked that a lot. And they asked me a few questions, like standard things, and then looked at the form that I'd filled in. So the three questions that I had answered yes to, one was about whether I'd been abroad in the last 12 months, which, as you know, because there's videos on my channel, you know I've been to Paris and I've been to Prague this year, so that was fine. They asked when that happened as well. I don't know if I'd said like 2 weeks ago, they would have been like, oh no, but fine. The other one I answered yes to was whether I had taken in the last 7 days, you know, aspirin, paracetamol, anti-inflammatories, that kind of thing. And incidentally, I used some ibuprofen gel on the back of my neck last night because it was sore while I was trying to get to sleep. But again, I didn't know whether that was a yes for me, but I just said yes just in case they asked me about it. They were fine with that. And then the other one is whether I had had any operations, medical investigations, tests, that kind of thing. And as a child I had some operations on my eyes because I had a squint, so I've had 2 as a child, so obviously I said yes to that. And they had to do a little bit more further investigation into that just because of that, and they weren't quite sure on the operation and things, so they had to do a little bit of looking up, but it was all fine. They also do in that consultation a finger prick test, which is a little uncomfortable, it has to be said. So they use one of those little machines so that they can draw some blood. They take a pipette of your blood to put in a solution to see whether your iron levels are high enough. If your blood sinks to the bottom, you're good to go. And that was what happened with me. So from there, there's obviously points of waiting, but you go to your chair where you're going to be donating. It's a bit odd because there's just like 10 chairs around and just people with their arms out donating either, I guess the yellow one was plasma, is that what they call it, or blood. So they've split it into 2 sections anyway. Obviously I was a blood donation. Essentially find the vein that they're going to use. So I would have preferred it in my left arm because my right arm is my dominant arm, I'm right-handed, but apparently my vein was a bit small in that arm, so they wanted to see whether it would be better in the right one, and it was, so I ended up donating from my right arm. So there's a bit of, you know, clenching and so that they can work it out, and they put a blood pressure doodah, one of those sleeve things that, you know, contract so that your arm is, like your veins pop out a bit more, I guess. And you wear that for the entire time, so it is a bit tight on the arm. So after they decided that the vein in my right arm would be better, or I don't know whether it's a vein or an artery they take it from, but the place in my right arm was better. He then used a weird little circle thing to rub antiseptic in the area for about 30 seconds, left it to dry for a little bit, and then they obviously insert the tube, the needle, to start the donation, which is like having an injection. It's quite uncomfortable, it's not ideal, but needs must and all of that. They're with you for a while, making sure that, you know, it's flowing properly, it's doing what it's supposed to do. I think they take a little bit, like a little vial anyway, so that they can then, I think that's the bit that goes off for testing, not your big bag of blood that you donate, which I guess goes into a fridge somewhere until it's needed, or until the tests come back that they can use it. All of that stuff I'm not entirely sure about. Then you're there, they try and make it so that your donation is 15 minutes basically. The machine that you're hooked up to will beep at you if your flow is falling below what they want it to be. So you just basically continuously doing that with your hand. Mine did drop, so my machine did beep, and the nurse came over and gave me a actual tube to hold, which was easier because it was more of a tactile thing to do, and it meant that I could squeeze it harder, and then it was all fine. And the nurse that started me off was like, yeah, everybody obviously is a bit nervous at first, so it comes out really quickly and then it drops off quite a lot. So it's important to keep doing that. They also, before you start giving your donation, give you a card of essentially some exercises to do while you're doing it. So they want you to keep your legs crossed, like at your ankles, and they recommend clenching your bum cheeks and your thighs, just to keep the blood circulation going all the way around. The actual donation was fine, like not a problem at all. The machine then gives this like proper computer game sound to tell you that you're done. Eventually, I mean, they didn't time it very well because about 3 of us were done all at the same time, or like within like 30 seconds of each other, so I did wait for a little while before someone came to remove my tube and sort all of that out. They give you a thing to put pressure, so you're the one that's holding down, so that you put 3 fingers and then your thumb under your elbow, and then you put pressure on it because it's all done in the crook of your elbow. So all of that, and then they apply dressings and things. In fact, I've obviously got a cardigan on, but there you go, there's my dressing. So the plaster stays on for 6 hours, and then this little round bit that's adding a bit more of pressure onto the actual part where they did it, that stays on for, I think she said half an hour. I've probably had it on for a bit longer, but it's fine. So this is the bit where I differ from everybody else in the room, which is a little embarrassing, because she did all of that. She was asking me how I was like, my right hand is a bit tingly. She's like, okay. And then because you're tilted while you're donating, so then she brought the chair upright, and immediately I went really lightheaded. I was like, whoa, I've gone really lightheaded. And she tipped me all the way back so that all the blood was going to be rushing back to my head. They also brought me a cold pack to put under my neck. So where everyone else just got off the chair, I was the awkward one that had feeling faint and lightheaded. But I was kind of expecting it, because I do go lightheaded relatively easy anyway, and as a teenager when I was having my periods, I would quite often get to the point where I was almost fainting. I only fainted once, maybe twice, but I got to a point where I really did have to just sit down with my head between my knees. So me being lightheaded is not uncommon. I was expecting it, to be honest. It's just a little bit embarrassing when everybody else who was donating at the same time as me just hopped off the chair and went to the little snack place, and I was there for a lot longer as they tilted me all the way back, gave me a cool pack and things like that. But the nurses were lovely. There was no way they were going to let me go anywhere, even though I was like, I'm fine, like I'm lightheaded but I'm alright. But it's just like, no, we're going to do this. So then we went through the stages, gradually getting me back up to upright, had some water, all of that kind of thing. And I feel alright. I had intended on wandering about town afterwards, but after feeling a little bit dodgy, and I'm still a little bit, not lightheaded, that's the wrong word, but I'm not 100%, a little bit, I don't know how to explain it, because I'm not lightheaded and I'm not faint, but I'm certainly not, I know there's been a whole heap of, like a pint of blood taken out of me, I can tell. So I've decided to come back, and I'll probably watch an episode of Drag Race or something. I was actually having a chat with the nurse about it, and she was rather upset that I was 2 episodes behind and she couldn't talk about the most recent episode with me. I hope that hasn't, scared anybody thinking about giving blood, because, as I say, the process was fine. Even being lightheaded, the main part of that was embarrassment and feeling like making more of a scene than actually it being a bad thing. I say all the nurses and technicians and whoever were there, they did take good care of me, to make sure that I was definitely feeling fine and able to leave. So once you've got off your chair, you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole that I did. If you do, you go into like essentially another little waiting area where they ply you with like squash and water and food. Because I was feeling faint, they recommended that I had something salty, so I ended up having yet another packet of crisps, which is not ideal. But if ever there's a day to eat 2 packets of crisps, I think when I've donated blood, it's probably a good one. So yeah, I will, as a female, I can go I think it was every 4 months. If you're a male, I think it's a bit different. I guess it's to do with menstrual cycles and things, I don't know. But I will go again, assuming that when we move there is a centre close enough. I don't think I'd want to go through all of that and then travel all the way back home, unless Pete was with me. Not because because I am fine, it's just I'm feeling a little bit. As I said, I'm fine, I just know that a pint of blood's been taken from me. But yeah, if you do have any questions, obviously I'm not completely au fait with it. I've only ever done it once, but if you do have any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. As far as I'm aware, what the next steps are is that obviously my blood will go to be tested. If anything untoward is flagged there, then they'll let me know. I was told to get the app because that's in the next sort of 3-4 days is where my blood type will come up. Pretty sure I'm O positive. I'm pretty sure that's what my mum told me the other day, but I can't remember, and I never remember. And then obviously my blood is now in the system, ready to hopefully help someone and potentially save someone's life. So definitely worth doing it. To add, because I didn't say it and I meant to say it, I think the main reason I probably felt lightheaded is I don't think I'd drunk enough water today. I had a glass of water this morning and then a bit before I went to give blood, but I don't think I drank enough today, and I think that's a large reason why I felt lightheaded. So if you are going, drink lots of fluids, eat lots of food. Right, it's several hours later. I haven't actually moved from this sofa. I'm feeling way better than I was, like back to normal. Arm's a little bit sore, but that might just be because I've got a massive plaster on there. And just very hungry. I don't know if that's about the blood or not, but there we go. That's my little later in the day update, and I'll come back to you in a couple of days to close this video and let you know how I'm feeling. So it's the evening of the day after, and I thought I'd let you know how I am. I was a bit worried about going to sleep because I thought it'd be like when you've had a jab and then your arm hurts and you can't lay on it, but I was absolutely fine. I've had no pain or anything at all. I have a slight bruise, but nothing too drastic. And I went for a run and was absolutely fine. So there you go. That's my experience of first-time blood donor. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I know I've rambled on quite a lot in this video and I may not have covered something that you want to know, so feel free to do that. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!